a truck driver's pension fund, became the most powerful criminal bank in American history. If you're interested in how organized crime shaped modern America, stay with me until the end, because this story reveals how ordinary workers' retirement money built an empire of corruption that touched every corner of the country. Detroit, Michigan. February 1949. Morning. Jimmy Hoffa walks into a meeting with Paul Dorfman. Dorfman runs the Chicago Waste Handlers Union. He is also a former prizefighter. He once worked for Al Capone. Hoffa needs connections in Chicago. Dorfman needs legitimacy. They shake hands. The deal is simple. Dorfman will deliver Chicago's union support. Hoffa will deliver power. Paul Dorfman has a stepson, Alan Dorfman, 26 years old. He teaches physical education at a high school. Within months, he will never teach again. The International Brotherhood of Teamsters was founded in 1903. Horse-drawn wagon drivers formed the union to improve working conditions. By 1940, the union represents 530,000 members. They drive trucks. They handle freight. They move America's goods from city to city. In 1952, Dave Beck becomes Teamsters president. Beck is from Seattle. He is smooth. He is conservative. He makes the Teamsters respectable. Under the surface, he takes union money. He files false tax returns. He sells a Cadillac that belongs to the union. He pockets 1-900. Jimmy Hoffa is different. He is from Detroit. He starts working at age 14. He organizes his first strike at age 18. By 1942, he controls the Michigan Conference of Teamsters. He is ruthless. He is brilliant. He understands one thing: power comes from control. In 1955, Hoffa creates the Central States, Southeast and Southwest Areas Pension Fund. The Central States Pension Fund, workers contribute a small percentage from each paycheck. Employers match it. The money goes into one pool. By 1957, the fund holds $400 million. Washington, D.C., January 31, 1957. The Senate Select Committee on Improper Activities in Labor and Management convenes. Senator John McClellan chairs the committee. Robert F. Kennedy is chief counsel. He is 31 years old. He has spent months investigating union corruption. He has one primary target: Jimmy Hoffa. The hearings begin. Dave Beck takes the Fifth Amendment 140 times. He refuses to answer questions about missing union funds. By March 1957, Beck faces federal indictments: tax fraud, embezzlement. His presidency is finished. October 1957, Miami Beach, Florida. The Teamsters hold their convention. Hoffa is elected international president. He receives 1,008 votes out of 1,124 delegates. The victory is overwhelming. Robert Kennedy sits in the audience. He watches. He takes notes. The two men lock eyes across the convention hall. Neither looks away. Hoffa immediately expands the Central States Pension Fund. He hires Alan Dorfman to manage the fund's insurance contracts. Dorfman has no experience in insurance. He has no background in finance. He has one qualification: his stepfather's connections. Alan Dorfman forms a company, Union Casualty Agency. The Teamsters Pension Fund channels millions in insurance premiums through Dorfman's agency. Dorfman takes commissions on every policy. The numbers grow rapidly. Within 2 years, Dorfman becomes wealthy. The pension fund follows a pattern. Applications come in for loans. The loans go to specific people: casino developers in Las Vegas, real estate operators in Florida, shopping center builders in Chicago, construction companies across the Midwest. Many borrowers have one thing in common: connections to organized crime families. The McClellan Committee hearings continue through 1957, 1958, and into 1959. Robert Kennedy questions Hoffa for weeks. The exchanges are hostile. Kennedy presents evidence of union violence, evidence of destroyed financial records, evidence of loans to gangsters. Hoffa remains defiant. He denies everything. He attacks Kennedy's motives. He calls the hearings a witch hunt. December 1957. The AFL-CIO expels the Teamsters. The charge is corruption involving the union's president. Hoffa does not care. Without AFL-CIO oversight, he has more freedom. The Teamsters become an independent power. Las Vegas, Nevada. 1958. The desert city is growing. New casinos need money. Traditional banks will not lend to gambling operations. Casino developers cannot get financing. They turn to one source, the Teamsters Central States Pension Fund. The first major loan goes to the Stardust, then the Fremont, then the Desert Inn. The Dunes receives $5 million for an addition. The Four Queens gets financing. The Landmark, the Aladdin. The pattern repeats. In 1965, Jay Sarno plans to build the largest casino on the Las Vegas Strip, Caesars Palace. The project needs financing. No bank will touch it. Sarno meets with Alan Dorfman. Dorfman approves a $10.5 million loan from the Central States Pension Fund. August 5, 1966. Caesars Palace opens. Jimmy Hoffa and his wife Josephine attend the opening. They walk through the casino floor. They watch dice roll. Cards flip. Money change hands. The palace is built with truck drivers' retirement money. The workers do not know. They will not know for years. The pension fund loan to Caesars Palace eventually totals more than $20 million. The casino thrives. The returns on the loan are favorable. But something else happens at Caesars Palace. Something hidden in back rooms. Something that does not appear in any ledger. Organized crime figures control casino operations from the inside. They place trusted men in positions of access. Casino managers, pit bosses, count room supervisors. These men perform a simple task. They skim cash before it is counted for tax purposes. The skim flows back to crime families in Chicago, Kansas City, Milwaukee, and Cleveland. Alan Dorfman facilitates these arrangements. He approves loans knowing where the money goes. He knows who benefits. He takes his percentage. By the early 1970s, the Central States Pension Fund has grown to $1.5 billion. Dorfman's personal wealth has grown with it. The pattern is elegant. The pension fund provides legitimate loans to legitimate businesses. The loans are real. The casinos are real. The paperwork is accurate. But beneath the surface, a second economy operates. An economy of cash and control. An economy where organized crime uses workers' pension money as its private bank. Robert Kennedy does not give up. As Attorney General under his brother President John F. Kennedy, he continues pursuing Hoffa. Federal prosecutors file charges. Jury tampering in Tennessee in 1962. Fraud involving the pension fund in 1964. The trials are long. The evidence is complex. Hoffa fights every charge. March 1964. Chattanooga, Tennessee. Jimmy Hoffa is convicted of jury tampering. He attempted to bribe jurors during a previous trial. The sentence, 8 years in federal prison, July 1964. Chicago. Illinois. Hoffa goes on trial for defrauding the Central States Pension Fund. The prosecution presents evidence of loans to corrupt business partners. Loans that were never repaid. Loans made in exchange for kickbacks. After weeks of testimony, the jury reaches a verdict. Guilty. Another 8 years, the sentences run consecutively. Hoffa faces 13 years in federal prison. He appeals. The appeals take 3 years. He remains free. He remains Teamsters president. The pension fund continues operating exactly as before. March 7, 1967, Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary, Pennsylvania. Jimmy Hoffa enters prison. He is 54 years old. He has led the Teamsters for 10 years. Frank Fitzsimmons becomes acting president. Fitzsimmons is from Detroit. He is Hoffa's longtime friend. Everyone expects Fitzsimmons to serve as caretaker until Hoffa returns. But Fitzsimmons is not a caretaker. He is pliable. He listens to suggestions. He approves loans that Hoffa might have questioned. The pension fund becomes easier to access. Organized crime families notice the change. They prefer Fitzsimmons. Alan Dorfman continues managing the fund's insurance business. He meets with crime bosses. He arranges financing for projects in Las Vegas, Miami, and Puerto Rico. He travels constantly. Chicago to Las Vegas. Las Vegas to New York back to Chicago. He carries messages. He makes introductions. He collects fees. In 1970, Alan Dorfman and his stepfather, Paul, are indicted for embezzling from the IBT pension fund. The trial begins in 1972. Prosecutors present evidence of a $55,000 kickback on a pension fund loan. Dorfman accepted the money in exchange for approving the loan. The jury convicts him. He receives a 1-year sentence. He serves 9 months. While Dorfman is in prison, The Central States Pension Fund continues making loans. Between 1965 and 1972, the fund loans Las Vegas casinos nearly $250 million. The casinos use the money to expand, to renovate, to compete with each other, to build the modern Las Vegas Strip. But many loans are never repaid on time. Some are never repaid at all. The fund's financial returns are poor. The workers whose money fills the fund receive no benefit from the risky Las Vegas investments. Their pensions are underfunded. Their retirement security is compromised. While organized crime profits, truck drivers face an uncertain future. December 23, 1971. President Richard Nixon commutes Jimmy Hoffa's sentence. Hoffa is released from prison. There is one condition. He cannot participate in union activities until March 1980. Hoffa agrees. He signs the papers. He walks out of prison, but Hoffa does not honor the restriction. He immediately begins working to regain control of the Teamsters. He meets with local union leaders. He builds support. He plans to challenge Fitzsimmons for the presidency at the 1976 convention. The mob does not want Hoffa back. Fitzsimmons is easier to control. The pension fund flows freely under his leadership. Hoffa is unpredictable. He has personal pride. He makes decisions based on power, not profit. The crime families send messages to Hoffa. They tell him to retire. Hoffa ignores the warnings. July 30, 1975. Bloomfield Township, Michigan. Jimmy Hoffa drives to the Match's Red Fox restaurant. The time is shortly after 1 p.m. He is meeting two men. Anthony Tony Pro Provenzano, a New Jersey Teamsters official with ties to the Genovese crime family. Anthony Tony Jack Giacalone, a Detroit mob captain. The meeting is supposed to settle disputes, to negotiate Hoffa's return to power. At 2:15 p.m., Hoffa calls his wife from a payphone inside the restaurant. He tells her that the men have not arrived. He says he will wait a little longer. Then he will come home. No one sees Jimmy Hoffa alive again. His car is found in the parking lot. The keys are inside. There are no signs of struggle. No witnesses come forward. No body is ever recovered. On July 30, 1982, exactly 7 years after his disappearance, Hoffa is declared legally dead. The FBI investigates for decades. Multiple theories emerge. Hoffa was killed in a Detroit house. His body was cremated. His body was buried under a football stadium. His body was thrown in a trash compactor. His body was dissolved in acid. Each theory is investigated. Each leads nowhere. The case remains unsolved. With Hoffa gone, Frank Fitzsimmons solidifies control. The Central States Pension Fund continues operating. Alan Dorfman continues managing the insurance business. The loans to Las Vegas continue. The skim continues. The money flows, but the federal government is watching. The FBI establishes surveillance on Alan Dorfman. They track his movements. They photograph his meetings. They tap his phones when courts allow it. They build a case slowly, methodically. By 1980, investigators have evidence. Dorfman met with Senator Howard Cannon of Nevada multiple times. Cannon was chairman of a Senate committee that regulated trucking. Hoffa's Teamsters wanted specific legislation blocked. Dorfman allegedly offered Cannon a loan from the pension fund in exchange for his cooperation. The loan would be for a hotel in Las Vegas. Cannon would become a silent partner. The deal never completed, but the offer was made. May 1981. A federal grand jury indicts Alan Dorfman, Senator Howard Cannon, and several others. The charges: conspiracy to bribe a United States senator, fraud, extortion. The trial is scheduled for late 1982, December 15, 1982. Chicago, Illinois. The trial concludes. The jury deliberates for 3 days. They return with verdicts. Alan Dorfman, guilty on all counts. Senator Cannon is acquitted, but his political career is finished. Dorfman faces up to 55 years in prison. Sentencing is scheduled for January 23, 1983. Dorfman has cooperated with prosecutors in the past. He provided information about pension fund operations during earlier investigations. Federal agents approach him after the conviction. They suggest cooperation again. If Dorfman testifies about the mob's control of the pension fund, his sentence might be reduced. If he names the crime bosses who benefited from decades of loans, he might serve limited time. Dorfman considers the offer. He knows what testifying means. He knows what happens to witnesses. He knows the price of betrayal. He stalls. He tells prosecutors he needs time. He asks to discuss it with his attorney. The agents give him 3 weeks. Until sentencing day, word reaches Chicago. Word reaches Kansas City. Word reaches Milwaukee and Cleveland and Detroit. Alan Dorfman is under pressure. Alan Dorfman might talk. Alan Dorfman knows too much. Men in expensive suits make phone calls. They speak carefully. They use code words. Plans are made. January 20th, 1983, Lincolnwood, Illinois, 12:30 p.m. Alan Dorfman leaves the Lincolnwood Hyatt Hotel, known as the Purple Hotel for its distinctive color. He has just finished lunch with Irwin Weiner, a Chicago bail bondsman with mob connections. They walk across the parking lot. The winter air is cold. The sky is gray. 2 men approach. They wear ski masks. One pulls a .22 caliber pistol. He fires 7 shots. Dorfman falls. Blood spreads across the snow. Weiner is not harmed. He runs inside. He calls police. When officers arrive minutes later, Dorfman is dead. He is 3 days away from sentencing. He will never testify. The murder is professional. No witnesses identify the shooters. The getaway car is found abandoned a mile away. The license plates are recovered later, stolen from another vehicle. The gun is found in a dumpster. There are no fingerprints. The case goes cold immediately. Alan Dorfman's murder sends a message. A clear message to anyone who might cooperate with federal investigators. The message is received. For years afterward, witnesses refused to testify about pension fund operations. With Dorfman dead, federal investigators shift focus. They cannot prosecute a corpse, but they can target the system. They examine every loan the Central States Pension Fund made. They track every casino transaction. They identify patterns of corruption spanning 3 decades. The evidence is overwhelming. Between 1955 and 1980, the Central States Pension Fund made more than $1 billion in loans. Approximately $250 million went to Las Vegas casinos. Another $300 million went to mob-connected real estate projects, golf courses in California, shopping centers in Florida, housing developments in Arizona. Each project had legitimate business plans. Each had paperwork showing proper approvals. But beneath the documents, the same names appeared, the same crime families, the same intermediaries. In 1982, the federal government files a civil RICO lawsuit against the Teamsters. The Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act allows prosecutors to target criminal enterprises. The lawsuit alleges that organized crime families have controlled the Teamsters Union for decades, that the Central States Pension Fund operated as a criminal bank. That union democracy has been destroyed through violence and intimidation. The Teamsters fight the lawsuit. Union attorneys argue that new leadership has reformed operations, that the pension fund now operates under strict oversight, that the crimes alleged occurred years ago under previous administrations. The case proceeds slowly through the courts. March 14, 1989. Manhattan, New York. A federal judge approves a consent decree. The Teamsters Union will accept direct federal oversight. A court-appointed officer will monitor union elections. A review board will investigate corruption allegations. The Central States Pension Fund will be restructured. Independent trustees will control investments. The changes are unprecedented. No American union has ever accepted this level of government control. The consent decree works. Over the following decade, organized crime's grip on the Teamsters loosens. In 1991, Ron Carey is elected Teamsters president in the first direct rank-and-file election in the union's history. Previous presidents were selected by delegates at conventions. Now every member votes. The result is a genuine reformer takes control. The Central States Pension Fund is restructured completely. The mob-connected loans stop immediately. The fund's assets are redirected into conservative investments, treasury bonds, blue-chip stocks, commercial real estate with legitimate operators. The returns improve. The fund's financial health slowly recovers, but the damage from decades of corruption cannot be easily repaired. By 1990, the Central States Pension Fund is severely underfunded. It has promised benefits to hundreds of thousands of workers. It does not have enough money to pay those promises. The fund faces potential collapse. Federal regulators intervene. The Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, a government agency that insures private pension plans, provides support. Additional contributions are required from employers. Benefit payments are adjusted. Retirees see their monthly checks reduced. Workers who paid into the fund for 30 years receive less than they were promised. The human cost of the corruption is measured in these reduced pensions. Truck drivers who worked their entire lives, who contributed faithfully to their retirement fund, who trusted that their money was being invested wisely. They are the victims. They are the ones who paid the price while organized crime bosses built empires with their money. Las Vegas also changes. The mob's control of casinos ends through a combination of federal prosecution and corporate buyouts. In 1986, the Nevada Gaming Commission publishes a black book listing individuals banned from all casinos. The list includes mob bosses from Kansas City, Chicago, and Milwaukee. Casino owners with mob ties are forced to sell. Large corporations purchase the properties. Hilton, MGM, Circus. The new owners bring professional management, transparent accounting, legitimate financing. The Teamsters Central States Pension Fund loans helped build modern Las Vegas, the Stardust, the Dunes, Caesar's Palace, the Fremont. These casinos attracted millions of tourists. They created thousands of jobs. They transformed Las Vegas from a small desert town into a major American city. But the transformation came at a terrible cost. Workers' retirement security was sacrificed. Democratic unions were corrupted. Organized crime gained enormous power. By 2000, the federal oversight of the Teamsters begins to relax. The union has held multiple Democratic elections. The corruption investigations have ended. The mob's influence has been eliminated. In 2015, the federal government agrees to reduce oversight. The consent decree that began in 1989 is partially lifted. The Teamsters have regained some autonomy. The Central States Pension Fund remains troubled. Despite reforms and government support, the fund is still underfunded. In 2024, the Biden administration provides additional financial assistance through the American Rescue Plan. More than $36 billion is allocated to failing multi-employer pension plans, including Central States. The money prevents immediate benefit cuts. It provides temporary stability, but the long-term problems remain. Today, the Teamsters Union represents 1.3 million workers in the United States and Canada. It is still one of the most powerful labor unions in North America. It negotiates contracts for truck drivers, warehouse workers, airline employees, and public sector workers. It endorses political candidates. It organizes strikes. It fights for workers' rights. But the history of how the Teamsters became the Mafia's biggest bank remains a cautionary tale. It demonstrates how institutional corruption can persist for decades, how ordinary workers can be exploited by those they trust, how organized crime can infiltrate legitimate organizations, how federal oversight, despite its imperfections, sometimes becomes necessary to restore democracy. The Central States Pension Fund made more than $1 billion in loans between 1955 and 1980. Those loans financed criminal enterprises. They enriched mob bosses. They built an empire of corruption that touched every major American city. Jimmy Hoffa created the system. Alan Dorfman managed it. Frank Fitzsimmons allowed it to flourish. And thousands of truck drivers paid the price. Alan Dorfman died in a parking lot on a cold January afternoon. Jimmy Hoffa disappeared from a restaurant and was never seen again. The Central States Pension Fund survived, diminished but functioning. Las Vegas became a corporate playground. The Teamsters accepted federal oversight and slowly reformed. The money that built the mob's empire came from ordinary people, from men who drove trucks across American highways, from workers who loaded freight in warehouses, from union members who believed their pension contributions would secure their retirement. Their money built Caesar's Palace. It financed the Stardust. It paid for mob mansions and luxury cars and corruption that lasted 30 years. The blood was washed away. The bodies were buried or never found. The casinos changed owners, but the foundation remains. Built with workers' money, controlled by criminals, protected by murder. The trucks still roll across America's highways. The Teamsters still represent the workers who drive them. But the union will never forget the years when it served as the Mafia's bank, when pension money became criminal capital, when trust became betrayal, and retirement security became organized crime's greatest tool.